Forge the Narrative.
Hey everybody, welcome to Forge the Narrative. My name is Paul Murphy, your host. I'm joined tonight by Chris Morgan.
What's up?
And Chris Pryor.
How you doing?
It's a double Chris show.
All the Chris's.
Chris squared.
Let's get this Paul guy off the show.
There you go. Just replace it all with Chris's. So, Chris, ATC, Grand Adventure, people know who you are, but you've been on the show before, but want to make sure to introduce you special so people, if they don't recognize the name immediately, they know you.
I guess thank you.
This is a show where I'm not sure when we're going to release this. If you hear it on Saturday, that means we talked a little bit too much about Blackstone Fortress. If you hear it sooner than that, we'll talk more about Blackstone Fortress the next show. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I want to talk about some hobby stuff. I went to a tournament a couple of weeks ago. I want to talk a little bit about that. And also want to make sure people check out our sponsor, Discount Games Inc. Those guys continue to support us. Please support them. They've got, I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about it yet, but they have some like overstock holiday sales coming up pretty soon. It's worth emailing Jay. All his contact information will be in the show notes. Please check them out. I'm painting orcs. That's what's happening right now.
I'm behind, man.
I guess somebody's green with envy.
Yeah. Well, okay. I went with. I think it's important when you're trying to get an army wrapped up that you need to do something that's attainable to you and something but also press you out of your comfort zone a little bit, try new things, learn new things. But I used an opportunity to try some new basing, and I went with the texture paint from Games Workshop. This stuff it does what it's supposed to do. And I think that was one of the most exciting things was that when you see a product marketed as something and then it performs exactly like it's supposed to. That's pretty fun. And
Which one?
Well, the one I used was the Wasteland strategy. Not the Wasteland. Hang on.
Was it the stuff that dries and cracks, or is it the texture?
What I used was the Arid Dirt. So if you go into the Citadel Paint app, and go to the bases and find Arid Dirt, it tells you to use Agrellan Badland, shade it with Agrax Earthshade, and then dry brush it with Terminus Stone. I didn't use Terminus Stone. I used Screaming Skull. I had Screaming Skull on hand. I'm pretty sure that Screaming Skull is the non-dry paint of Terminus Stone. The Agrellan Badland is the one that dries it's the brown one that dries in the crackle formation. What this tutorial doesn't tell you to do is that you should probably put a coat of brown on the top of the base before you put the Agrellan Badland, so when it starts to crackle, you don't run the risk of showing a little bit of black non-painted surface on the base. So in these first 10, I did not do that. On all the rest, I'm going to do that. I'm going to put, I don't know, I've seen a thing where they suggest Mournfang Brown. I don't have a Mournfang Brown. I might use Dryad Bark or Baneblade Brown or something. Because it's going to get wash over it once it dries.
You need to lay it on.
I really like the Mournfang Brown personally. I use that as the base for after I prime my malls and I'm working on the bases. I base it with Mournfang Brown before I start working with any other colors. Because I do a desert theme to my bases, so I think that works really well.
You really need to put that stuff on thick, too. The stuff that cracks, cracks better when it's thicker.
Yeah, you got to put on a little bit more than you think you need to. And when it goes on, it doesn't go on like, hey, this is going to magically turn into crackle paint. It goes on like paste.
Yeah, it's great stuff.
Yeah, you kind of think, does this goop really work?
Yeah, that's what you're questioning yourself the whole way. But I put them on 10 bases, walked away, didn't let them dry for hours until you come back and you look at it, you can see it. It does exactly what it's supposed to do in the pictures. And so have confidence that will happen, and then shade it with Agrax and then that dry brush. And I'm really happy with how it turned out. I'm going to put some grass tufts on there, and I think it's going to give me a nice contrast for my green for my orc skin. Now I painted 10 grots. This is the first 10 of what will be 60 in my list.
You say grots, but I think you mean a blade of wounds.
Gretchen, grots.
I think you misspoke.
The sneaky gets, there's 100 different words, and extra wounds is now hit. Yeah. My 2+ invul on my Ludas is what I was planning to do with the Averland Sunset and the camo shade just didn't work. It just didn't work out. Tried it, didn't work the way I wanted it to, did not get the color that I wanted, and so I went with Warboss Green with Colia Green Shade, and that worked out like a champ.
I like that too.
Yeah, real happy with how that turned out. I did a little bit of edge highlighting with Moot Green, and I mean a little bit of edge highlighting with Moot Green. And then I did just the lightest of light dry brushes with a Rackar Flesh. And I think I've got a really nice looking green skin that's repeatable.
That Athonian camo shade I like as well for the more of a muted green, instead of a vibrant
Reset
one.
the clock.
Yeah, it's gritty. I mean, it does. It looks good. And I think it probably would have looked good over that Warboss green too. But I wanted that kind of green shade in the crevices, and it's a lot brighter. And then the brighter up from that would be the Beltane green. And I think there's a glaze, there's like a Waywatcher green or something like that. I don't know. I get my versions of paint mixed up.
The glaze though that's a whole different type of process though.
Yeah, true. So this squad of Gretchen did not take very long. I went with Evil Sons as my color scheme. Put them together. One of them has a ball cap and an eye patch on. I looking at the head from the angle that I saw it the first time, I'm like, oh man, he's got a sweet pair of aviators. It's not. It's an eye patch, but whatever.
Is his name Cletus?
It's Top Gun, man. That was going to be Grot Cruz.
Okay.
But
okay.
He does it. It's an eye patch, which is also fine. Those for people there that are beginning their odyssey with these Gretchen, they go together pretty quickly. And even though some of them are single pose models, you get some options with the heads, and one of them you have some arm options. The first thing I did was built one that reminded me a lot of a buddy of mine, and I took a picture and sent it to him. that was the Gobbo with his name on it.
The fact that you have grot friends.
Well, look, I'm just telling you, I'm trying to have fun with it, and I am. I'm having fun with it. I think there's a lot of power in the codex, and it's you've just seen all the lists that come through. It is really encouraging to the different ways that people are going to be approaching these builds. But I wanted to just get on it. I know it because this is going to take a lot of models. I mean, you're thinking you got a minimum of 25 Ludas. You probably got a minimum of 90 boys, 60 to 90 boys. You're going to need 60 Gretchen. I mean, you gotta get to it if you're going to be putting that on the table anytime soon.
I think tank busters.
Yeah, tank busters. I mean, but that's just bodies. I mean, you need 10, 15 tank busters. I mean, that's stuff that's, what I described is not certainly nowhere near 2,000 points. You got to have other stuff in there. But I think that's why I wanted to find something that looked good that I can do. And I'm real happy with how that basing scheme worked out, because my process now is I've been not gluing the models to the bases. I've been actually gluing them to a stir stick. Go to Home Depot and get one of those sticks that they stir the 5-gallon buckets of paint with. They'll give you those. I think most hardware stores will just give you those. And I'm getting I have gotten some double-sided mounting tape. It's that double-sided tape with a little bit of foam in between the two sides. So it's a thick double-sided tape.
Yeah, it's kind of poofy, right?
Yeah, a little poofy. And if you get the mounting tape, I don't know if this has any factor in how it's working for me or not. I've gotten the extra strength mounting tape, and I just stick the feet right to the tape, take them out, prime them. I may even do my first base coat and wash while they are still on the stick. And then while wash is drying, I'll be making up some bases. And that's a multi-step process too. So if I'm using textured paint, whether that be the GW stuff or the Vallejo stuff that we talked about before or whatever, put that on there. And as it's drying, I'll go back and do something else. And then once something's drying, then I'll go back and I'll put a dry brush on the bases. Just kind of go back and forth. And I feel that it helps me get the stuff on the table quicker, which means I get to play with it quicker.
Now, that foam insulation tape that you're using, when you spray that aerosol, is it not attacking it at all and eating that foam up?
No, not a bit. It's I don't know if it is some kind of foam, but it's got the adhesive barrier on both sides.
It's like a padding of some kind.
Yeah, it's a pad. Yeah, that's it. I mean, I'm only describing it so people could pick it out if they're not familiar with it. But it's mounting tape of some kind, and it's got some kind of backing that has a little bit of give. It's not double-sided Scotch tape or cellophane tape or anything. It's because that would not work. I don't think it would work. This stuff works really well, and I feel like I'm able to crank out more models in a better amount of time.
You could use carpet tape, like the double-sided.
Yeah, that's probably the same stuff. Go to the hardware store and find whatever the cheapest version of that is.
I'm an animal, dude. I just hold it in my hand and spray.
Well, if I was gluing them to the bases, I would probably
Yeah,
do
man.
that.
And then and people, if they see that on your fingernail, they see that black primer on your fingernail, no one's going to ask questions. They're not going to be like, you paint your nails. They'll be like, sometimes, obviously.
Maybe he does.
Not for what you think.
If I'm doing, not all the time an airbrush, if I'm just brush painting, I mean, that tape will hold the feet pretty well. If you put both feet on there, I did some ghouls and some Necron warriors where there were just so many ghouls and so many warriors, they wouldn't all fit 2 feet on the tape. So it was a 1 foot stick. Still worked for priming and the first spray.
You're the real animal. You're still using brushes. It's 2018, man. You got to be using only an airbrush.
See, I'm not.
Hey! Don't be hating. I'm still on the bruch. Yeah. I have an airbrush.
Everybody's going to use a brush at some point.
I don't have any of these stuff for it.
Dude, not to get us too far sidetracked. We'll talk about airbrushes here in a second, but this is what my process for because I'm a tournament player. Sometimes I've got to have a whole army ready in a month. How do I do it? This is how I do it. That's it. So anytime I can share, I am not a talented painter, but I have learned some tricks and tips and cheats along the way. So want to pass those on whenever we can. That's what the Finish and Move segment has always been about. It's like how to get a really great effect, a great end result without spending a lot of time.
I should have my wife get in touch with yours. She just bought me a hoodie that said, "I am the okayest painter you've ever met."
Well, I mean, the stuff looks good. Your stuff looks good. My stuff looks good. Really, really proud of it and happy. But it's some of it is it's a process. It's not some innate talent or whatever. It really boils down to the process. I was having a chat with a guy on Twitter about these bases. This is today. He's like, "Oh man, those look sculpted." Like, no, that's the paint. That's the crackle paint. It does its job. It does exactly what it says it's supposed to do if you just apply it right. Like what you were saying, Chris Pryor, is you apply it a little bit thick and then you walk away from it until it's good and dry. And then it's just a washing and dry brush. And everybody can do that.
It takes forever to dry, but man, does it look good when it's dry.
Yeah, that's it. So
and washes work so well with that. I don't think that can be overstated. It's just, you look at the crackle effect, you're like, well, maybe that's not as crackly as I thought it was. No, put a wash on it, then you'll see, and then you can highlight it. It's super easy, dry brushing, whatever. It is super easy to work with. Yeah,
that's it. So that's the tip for today, is that crackle stuff really works. But put down, if you're just looking at the paint app like I did, it doesn't tell you to put down a thin coat before you put down the texture paint, and I think it's worth that extra step. And I mean this on the 10 bases that I did. One of them has, I think, a little bit too much view of the base underneath that I'm not especially happy with. But that's me being a little too particular. Oh, with that said,
I'll never forgive you for that.
Yeah, well, I mean, with that said, I'm going to stick a piece of grass over that one little micro section of the base I don't like, and no one's going to know. So whatever.
Tough luck.
Yeah, but in my process, I'm gonna put a thin layer of whatever brown I happen to have on hand. I don't even think it matters what color the brown is before I do the process. So that's the orc bases for me. I think that color is a really good contrast with the skin tone of the orcs that I'm doing, and I think no matter what, because I'm gonna have multi cultures in the army. So, and I think that base will be consistent across and look good with the Evil Suns and the Bad Moons or the Goths or whatever I end up going with.
Yeah, and the nice thing about them is that so many of them are just good.
Well, that helps. Oh, man. So this tournament I went to a couple weeks ago was up in South Carolina and had an absolute blast. The first game that I played, I think I made at least one misstep. It was against knights, against a real strong knight list. They had a knight lancer in the list, and I'm pretty sure that's what threw me off to make me make a misstep, because that joker moved. Now
this was when you were playing your Inari, right?
Yeah, I'm playing Inari. Yeah, I feel good about the list. The list kicks much teeth in. I don't know how it's going to do in an orc environment, since I have 4 flyers in the list. But I think that's what made me have a little bit of misstep, because the Lancer, it moves super, super fast. And the guy played very well. Really had a fun game the whole way. But I think that's what made me not put my Reapers on the table turn 1, because I didn't want to throw them out there to kill half a knight to then be murdered by a Lancer, which could have happened.
Yeah, I mean, those things move pretty fast.
It was like 30 inches across the table. Like, it was super obnoxious. It was a really great disruption element, because you have when you're play a lot and you see things and you just mentally start checking them off, like, oh, I know what that does, it's cool, and you start, you may not know it, but then like in the movement phase you're assigning these range bands to all these models, so you're staying out of threat range or maximizing your threat range or whatever, and then you've got something that breaks out of that mold and causes some disruption. The perfect thing for him was getting me to change up what my plan normally is, and that he took advantage of it. That's what you should be doing.
Yep. No, that's solid play.
I'm able to struggle, fight my way back into it, and then, like, this is in round 5. I put all these wounds on a Castellan. Sorry, turn 5. Put all these wounds on a Castellan. I think I put 7 or 8 wounds on it. He needed to make 7 or 8 5-up saves. Let me tell you how many 5-up saves he made.
About 7 or 8.
All of them. Every single one of them.
Oh my gosh. That reminds me so much. Ugh. How do we do that to people?
It happens. It just happens. And so another, a little bit of sequence of play happens, and this Castellan ends up having 3 wounds left. And so I did what any sensible Eldar general would do. I charged him with my Guardians.
Okay.
And I kill it. I lost the game, but I'm gonna remember that part about the Guardians killing that Castellan.
Oh man, that's quite the shin kick they did right there.
It was doomed, so there's that. The Castellan was doomed, so I had that going for me.
As in the psychic power doomed, for those not getting the... do we want to call it a double entendre?
Yeah, I get it. But by the time the Guardians endured the Overwatch, they only had 9 Guardians left. So to put 3 wounds on the Doom... and then, that's how the variance of dice. He didn't make a single armor save. And then the Castellan went down.
Well, I mean, them's the breaks, I guess.
Yeah. But he essentially got a free round of scoring with that Castellan not dying the time when he made all the saves. But again, whatever, that's Warhammer. I mean, this is not me lamenting. That is I would play that game again with the same outcome if that's the way the dice worked out, and feel like I had a great 2 hours. As
the other player, right? As the loser in the match, it's important to feel like you didn't waste your time.
Yeah, I don't think so at all. Then go on to, I fought a Death Guard player after that, and it was in a tournament. You lose your first game, that kind of throws you into another category of play. So he was not prepared to deal with the Inari with 4 flyers. But then I go on to fight a guy who took 6 flyers.
What 6 flyers did he play with?
He had 3 Crimson Hunter Exarchs and 3 Hemlocks.
Jeez. So it was another Eldar player. I was just like, I can't see any Marine list that can get away with having 6 flyers and still having an army.
Yeah, 3 Storm Talons and 3 Storm Hawks. That's still.
I guess you could play him.
And maybe some Scout Squads.
Yeah. He had a couple of Wave Serpents. I mean, it's a solid list. It's a good list. I think that I got the upper hand, though. I did go first and kill 2 of his Hemlocks, and then he was not able to do a lot of return damage to me, either through, some below average rolling or good saves on my side. He just didn't reduce any of my offensive capabilities. So then by turn 2, I pretty much had him on the back foot. But incredibly nice guy, and I did enjoy the game. I mean, he knew what he was getting into. I mean, he knew what his list had to do. When you've got 6 flyers and 2 Wave Serpents, one of the most obnoxious things in the game, as we talked about, just for their overall durability.
And just reducing that damage.
Yeah, so he's expecting most people to try to boots on the ground him, because with the way the beta rules was that if you didn't have anything on the table other than flyers at the end of your turn, then you'd lose the game. I said, whatever, I'm killing all your flyers, and then I'll mop up these Wave Serpents. Because the Wave Serpents, they don't put out a ton of damage on their own.
Yeah, I think that's probably the wiser move as well. It's just the things that are doing the damage have to die first. Otherwise, it's kind of like we talk about where the longer something survives, the less the things that can kill it are alive towards the end of the game, and the more effective it gets.
Yeah. Well, and also too, the wave serpents are just that hard to kill. I mean, when they're reducing 1 damage off everything that hits them, and they've got an okay save, and 13 wounds, and then there's things inside. You're just I think you're not wasting time shooting at a wave serpent, but in a game where it's a hot burning candle, you've got to take out that stuff that could just have a good turn and wipe you. So
yeah, it definitely feels like you're wasting time. That's for sure, because they're so hard to kill.
Yeah, but it's a shootout, and so I just kept shooting and ended up coming out on top. Right?
I ran into kind of a similar situation at a tournament the other weekend where I ended up going against a Tau player. He had one of those Yavara suits, but it was my first time playing against the new Tau, and I realized something where I was using my quad mortars to shoot the Kroot off of objectives and to kind of clear some of his screen so my units could drop down and do some damage. But what I should have been doing is using the quad mortars to shoot at the shield drones, because when I was actually sending attacks into the Yavara that could do the multi damage, that could do the hurt, the drones were just soaking all of them up.
Nope. So obnoxious.
Yeah, and there were tons of them, and he had them very, very well placed so that they were covering a large number of units. They
have to be within a certain amount of inches of a faction aligned with the suit too. Like they have to be from that faction within a certain amount of inches, and then they can absorb some wounds. And they don't even absorb; it's just like the damage goes to them, and then they get to then do a 5-up ignore on it.
Yeah, they get to do like it's an invulnerable save.
And then they feel no pain above the mortal wound that goes on them is what it is.
It was obnoxious, but if I had redirected my fire onto the things that were soaking up the actual damage dealing wounds, that game probably would have gone a little bit better.
You live and learn with that. That's if you've never experienced it before, then you don't know what's about to happen, and then you might not even have the tools to do it. I mean, that's one of the things. If you don't have indirect fire, sometimes you may never hit those drones.
Yeah, I feel like I had the tools, I just didn't use them right, because I brought a list that has 2 of the quad mortars and 1 of the Whirlwind Scorpius units, and the Scorpius was really good at being able to deliver damage onto the broadside battle suits that were back there, but because they could also throw those ablative wounds over onto the shield drones, being the same sept and all that, like that effectiveness was taken down as well. So by not choosing the correct target priority with the other indirect fire stuff that is good for killing the chaff, I ended up kind of shooting myself in the foot.
God, that's an honest mistake. Because sometimes all they need is a round of you not doing that, and then before it clicks. Yeah, that is terrible sometimes. The last round, I think I may have talked about this before, was against a guy who also played Knights, and he fired everything at the Wave Serpent. I had a single Wave Serpent and just didn't kill it, because that's just what Wave Serpents do sometimes, and then I went to work. And it was eye-opening too, because he had a Tyrannus Knight that, of course, he's planning to get him back up to do some damage on me. But getting that Knight back up, this is kind of the debate between House Raven and House Tyrannus, I think. Because House Raven, you got the 3 command point stratagem that allows you to reroll all 1s. So 1s on damage, hit, wound, I think it's all 1s. And that's a very, very powerful stratagem. The House Tyrannus one it's our Darkest Hour or something, I think is what it's called, that allows you to come back to life after you've been destroyed. And you come back to life at the end of the phase. So it's not like it's in the shooting phase and it kills you at the beginning, that you just pop back up and they get to shoot you again.
And it's provided you don't explode.
If you don't explode, if you don't explode, and then you've got to roll a 4+, and then you've got to roll your number of wounds you come back with, and then on your turn, you've got to burn more command points to make them fire as if he were his max profile, or you're kind of hitting on 5s and just kind of dirtling around.
But they also had the feel no pain, right?
Yeah, they have that 6-up.
Yeah, they're the 6-up, except against mortals.
Except against mortals, yep, that's right. I think they're both still incredibly powerful, but when I saw just the fact that he had to basically put 5 command points in a box and not use them, and then in round 2 and 3, when he knew it was going to die again, how much it affected his decisions on what he was going to do. So I was totally, because of the frustration that the Wave Serpent caused, and because he knew that I had the firepower to just basically keep dropping that Knight, it stalled him out on being able to burn that gas. And I think that was me disrupting his game and being able to kind of affect things. But he knew he had to hold on to those command points. And so if I somehow forced him to use one of those, or he talked himself out of doing something that was actually more beneficial to him at the time because he knew he had to save those for doing that pop-up strategy, then I mean, even if I wasn't doing very well in the game at the time, that's something that could have got me back in the game, was him having to have that internal conflict.
Yeah, I find that interesting about the game, that you have people who, and don't get me wrong, this is obviously there's several good reasons to do this, but to actually invest their points to basically, like you said, a strategy to use their stratagems properly, like getting back up, or getting an extra fight, or whatever the case may be.
That thing's not 3 command points. That was the thing that woke me up, essentially, was that it's a 5 command point investment, because you need, if you blow up, you need to be able to re-roll the 6. So that's 1 command point. If you don't blow up and you don't roll the 4+, you need to be able to re-roll the 4+. And then you need to be able to take yourself back up to the highest tier for that round of shooting. So that's 5 command points. 4 at the minimum.
One of the nice things about this is when you look at how this has changed Knight players' playstyle since before the big FAQ 2, where now you have to care about how you spend your command points. And these decisions matter to them, but we aren't seeing Knight lists in the same way we were seeing them before, but we are still seeing them. It's just forcing people to make different choices with their Knights. I think that's good to see. Well, I think that's good for the game, and
you're going to have to go through them. If you're playing in a 5-round tournament, you will have to go through Knights. You're probably going to have to go through Knights in a 3-round tournament. Where I'm going with this is just make them make those decisions. Don't let them sit back and play their own kind of game. Get in their face, disrupt it, make their decisions. Sorry, I jumped in, Chris. I apologize.
But, and the fact that they have to make those decisions now empowers you as the opponent to force them into an uncomfortable choice.
They look great on the table.
Before the FAQ, that's obviously one of the things too, is they were just able to farm it and not make those decisions at all for the most part. I mean, don't get me wrong, they still made some decisions, but now it's like Chris said, it's very critical, which I find very refreshing.
Yeah, I like that tactical restraint, the rule that says you only can get back 1 per turn or whatever. I don't know if I like the name of it. Like, why on earth would I have tactical restraint? I want to fire this thing up, get as many command points as possible. But whatever, got to call it something. But then again, Knights have everything going for them. They look awesome. They got cool stats. Sometimes they just work. Whatever. They're a bully unit you can take multiples of. This tournament, they had bracket champions. After my loss in game 1, it put me into bracket 3. I then ended up being bracket 3 champion and got some sweet prize support. So it was a very well run tournament. It's the Barnyard Brawl. That's what I went to. Had a great time. Lots of nice people there from up and down the East Coast that I had not met before. First time I met some of those folks. Really enjoyed it. Real nice culture that's forming in that area.
Yeah, that's Blake Burrows' event, correct?
Yep. Yeah, it was fun. It was fun times. So that's how I spent my 2 weekends ago. That was the kind of tournament that once I left, I immediately wanted to go to another tournament. I even tweeted it as such. Like, I'm going to work today, but I'd really rather just be going to another tournament.
That's always a good feeling.
Yeah. It was nice to get out there and roll dice and whatever. I think I'm going to retire the Eldar for a while. Not because I don't love them, and not just because the orcs are going to run rough shot all over them. But I've been
not only because.
Well, I've been painting up demons. I got some demons I want to get on the table. I don't even know what my list is going to be. I got serious hobby ADD. Just this week, I finished some bloodletters, some scenery. One of the things that I got as part of my prize support, it was great prize support, was one of those Kill Team box sets that's the battle environments. Comes with the board and some terrain pieces and stuff. Couldn't resist. Started throwing together those crates and barrels. I'm a big fan of barrels in the 40K universe. ever since they first came out on that first Battlefield sprue thing they put out. I don't know where it came out originally. I think it was might have been in the 3rd edition box set.
Yeah, you're talking about the 2-piece barrels?
Yeah, 2-piece barrels, yeah.
Yeah, those things were fantastic.
Yeah, I know they released them separately, but I think there might have been a couple in that box. I can't remember exactly. Anyway, I love barrels in the in the 40K universe, and they're especially cool in Kill Team with the way their cover rules and stuff works in that game. So I actually made a couple of barrel stacks and put them on 50 mil bases. Just
hey, GW liked them. They liked them so much they put them on Bane blades.
Yeah, Bane blades up here.
4 barrels in the back.
The painting those crates up. I finished the bloodletters, and then I started working on these Gretchen. Man, I'm all over the place hobby wise, but I will eventually narrow it down into whatever the next army's going to be. More to come on this, but going to such a cool tournament and tournaments recently anyway. It's back in my blood. Going to be running more tournaments. I don't know what that means exactly yet, but more news coming soon, especially talking to these folks that we've had on from all over the world, just being enthusiastic about their events. I want to get back in on that.
Yeah, one of the nice things about having my commission finished is the amount of time it's freed up for me to feel like I can go out and participate in things a bit more. And it's been awesome. I've almost been overwhelmed by the creative possibilities. Just like the idea that things that I haven't tried yet, models that I haven't put together yet, I can now turn into lists that I can use and bring to the table and kind of spice up from what I've been doing from my already finished stuff.
Let's take a quick break. We'll come back and we will gush about some Blackstone Fortress stuff. Hold tight.
Oh, I'm so excited.
You're listening to Forge the Narrative.
Hey everybody, we are back. Still got both Chris's here. I was going to mention this.
It's like thing 1, thing 2.
Yeah, and the last thing, but this may come up now that we've got the orcs with the Here We Go, being able to reroll one or both of the dice, and I think it's the same for Farseers being able to. Am I right about Farseers? They can reroll one or both the dice, making their psychic checks. For failed psychic checks.
Yeah. The Ghost Helm ability, is that the one?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So rerolls. Some rolls allow you to reroll a dice roll, which means you get to roll some or all of the dice again. You can never reroll a dice more than once, and rerolls happen before modifiers, if any, are applied. So why am I mentioning this? Because Here We Go, and let me read that specifically. What it says and why it's because whatever I'm thinking about. Hey man, I need to get evil sons and I need 8-inch charges, and how do I get that? All the time. Is that Here We Go? You can reroll charge rolls for this unit. When doing so, you can reroll all or any of the dice. So you got 2 dice. You roll. You don't like one of them. You use Here We Go to reroll that. Then you use a command point to reroll the other one. You don't like it. That's a lot of ways to get that 8-inch charge. I don't know if that's the intent, but that seems to be, at least as written, how it might interact.
I kind of feel like that's how orcs would look at dice not landing how they want them to. They just believe hard enough to change the roll to something else.
So maybe that's why it works. I'm just floating that out there with how the rerolls things is written. Unless there's been something that I'm missing in another document somewhere, but I don't think it's ever really come up because it's only been one thing, and it's a psychic test, and psychic tests, work a lot. But now when we're going to be dealing with charges from 10 knob bikers or 30 boys or tons of storm boys or whatever, I think we're going to need to lock this down how this intent works. That's a quick aside. So Blackstone Fortress. The Blackstone Fortress has some new Chaos Space Marines in there. But I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, they were teasing this a long time ago. I was very interested in seeing where it came.
Real talk. I bet most people couldn't put their hand, couldn't swear that they knew they were new Chaos Space Marine models because no one's looked at a Chaos Space Marine model. Chaos Space Marine model specifically, like a Havoc Squad guy or whatever in a long time.
Yeah, you're right.
But they are new models, and one of them has a Thunderhammer.
Yeah, that's... He stole that from somebody.
I think, it's got a big old chaos symbol on it. I think he's the first Chaos Space Marine with a Thunderhammer.
And he's marching out there. He's pretty confident with said hammer.
Now, okay, can we confirm this a Thunderhammer? And what's this guy's name?
Obsidious Malix, and he does in fact have a plasma pistol and thunder hammer.
Well, you know he's a bad mamma jamma because he has a plasma pistol.
Right.
If the thunder hammer,
and you know that he came up with that name himself, and it's not his real name is probably Dennis.
He's 102 points. I think the 2 points was just him just being like, you know what, let's just round me up to a strange number.
That's
here.
his top knot. The top knot is 2 points.
Yeah, that or the fact that he gets to carry that hammer.
He's got to be Black Legion, right?
He is in fact Black Legion,
and that's okay on his stat in his faction. He has Chaos, Black Legion.
So faction keywords, it's Chaos, Heretic, Astartes, Black Legion, and Servants of the Abyss.
Yeah, more to come on Servants of the Abyss. We're not going to be able to take a super deep dive on this stuff right now, but more to come on that on future episodes.
The key thing is that, you know, he has the ability Lord of Chaos, which lets him reroll hit rolls of ones for friendly Black Legion, and obviously the friendly Servants of the Abyss units within 6 inches of Obsidious.
And we're talking about their 40k rules. This is not inside the Blackstone Fortress game itself rules.
Yeah, there's no telling how awesome he is in that game.
Oh, I bet it's cool. Man, I cannot wait to jam on this game. I mean, we went on and on about how cool the Silver Tower was, and this is a similar setup, but with 40k stuff. And again, I can't wait. It's gonna be awesome. Cannot wait to play.
Well, you know, I mean, it's got 40k stuff that harkens back to the days of old. I mean, you have robots and beastmen.
The robot is cool. So, I mean, I know that we're zeroing in on the new stuff, like the new, what could be potential teasers for things to come. Who knows, right? Like Servants of the Abyss or whatever. But the robot has a new faction. Is that right?
Yeah, he has a faction keyword, Robotica Imperialis, which, you know, begs to say, are we going to get robots? You know, are we going to get, I mean, is that the beginning of the new year, right? You know, that would be kind of nice.
A full-on just robot thing. I mean, the AdMech needs some help. That's for sure. But he's got his own look and feel to it. Like, he looks distinctly unique compared to the rest of the stuff.
Yeah, he is very unique looking.
So the Blackstone Fortress, from what we can tell, has, you've got your protagonist, which I'm assuming is the Rogue Trader and the Rattlings and then that kind of stuff, and then the antagonist, which is the Chaos Space Marines. But it's the Blackstone Fortress, I think, has things that are in it that are like environmental hazards, like those drone-looking things, those tripod-looking drones.
Yeah, those drones are, I think those drones are actually on the Chaos side, maybe. They're spindle drones. They're unaligned, so it's hard to say what they really are, I guess, until you dig into the actual game.
Very mysterious. Yeah. Well, they're probably against whoever the characters are, the PCs.
Yeah, like this Janus Drake guy, the Rogue Trader.
Is that the guy with the mad vape-looking pen?
Yeah, with this awesome little saber or cutlass or whatever.
Yeah. What does he do?
He's a 40-point Rogue Trader. He's got a rapier. That's pretty cool. It's a molecular rapier. So it's got an Neg 4 AP. That's pretty cool.
Neg 4 AP?
Yeah. I mean, he does, still get the old strength 3 sissy swing at it, though. He does have a D field, so he's got a 4-up in bone. Once per battle, at the start of the fight phase, he can pick an enemy model within 1 inch and roll a die on a 4-up. They suffer a D3 mortal wounds. That's pretty cool. But, still ultimately he's human, so he is a T3 model.
Yeah, but he's only 40 points. I assume he's an HQ slot. What are his factions?
Yeah, what does he do for people?
His faction keywords are Imperium and Astra Cartographica. So
gonna be hard to get into a Force Org chart, is what we're saying.
Yeah, I'm gonna say yes.
Be hard to put in that battalion.
Yeah, he's gonna be a hard push into the spot. I mean, his keywords, the basic keywords are obviously character, infantry, Rogue Trader, and then his name, of course. So with Rogue Trader, you got the stuff from the Rogue Trader kill team, some of those models. I mean, so he's got a couple buddies.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. This is something. These are the coolest models we've seen in a while, and that's saying something.
Oh yeah.
What about these
look
Oh, the Rattlings,
I'm
the
curious
buddies.
as to what force or slot they fill. Can you put them in an IG army right now?
Well, they're elite. You can, because their keyword factions are Imperium, Astra Militarum, and Militarum Auxilia.
Okay, so that's what a Rattling.
They are just a duo Rattling crew.
Do they get any kind of special rules or abilities?
Several. They have 6. They have the the shoot, sharp, and scarper, which is what the other Rattlings have as well. Naturally stealthy, so they get 2 instead of 1 in the cover. They also have a thing called you go high, I'll go low. The first time this unit is set up on the battlefield, both models must be placed in unit coherency with each other. From that point onwards, and each operates independently and is treated as a separate unit. So kind of like tanks and all the various things in an Imperial Guard or army. They have grappling hooks, so they have the same Reaver ability. So then essentially moving through walls. They have the Rattling Twins. You can reroll failed hit and wound rolls when shooting with Rain's sniper rifle if the target is also visible to Rouse.
Oh, neat.
And then they have find the best spot. Instead of deploying them normally, you can wait until the armies are fully deployed, 18 inches away.
Rallies have that now, I think, right?
Right, yeah, same thing. So like you have the basic 3, and then you have the split up kind of like the tanks are in the Astra Militarum army, and then of course you have the Reaver ability, which is cool.
Yeah, those are neat. And what's the points on those guys?
Rain and Rouse, I think, are pretty cheap. They're 35 points
for both of them.
Yeah, it's listed as Rain and Rouse, or at least I'm hoping that's how I.
I would see that. I mean, so what is that? A normal Rattling squad is 50, 60 points, so you are paying a little bit for those abilities, but they do get to break up and be 2 separate units. It's 1 drop, but becomes 2 separate units.
Right. And it says models per unit, too. So, 35 for them. And all these points are saying includes weapons, obviously, because these are all unique models, etc.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. So any new psychers or anything in the thing? I know there's on the Chaos side, there's a couple of ones that would have been...
There's a Navigator guy, right?
Oh, the Navigator guy, yeah.
So before you move on to that...
an epic hat.
The one thing you want to kind of remember about Rain and Rouse is they also do have a demolition charge.
Oh, do they both have one?
It says Rouse is armed with a stub pistol and demo charge.
Okay, so just one, yeah.
Yeah. So, he's got a little bit of Catachan in him.
Well, I knew they looked like Catachans to me. I knew they were on the right planet.
Now, what were you talking about with the other models?
The guy with the funky hat is what Chris was talking about.
Little spaceship head.
Yep.
He's an Imperium with Navis Nobilite, so that's also another unique faction keyword. He is a Psyker. He's got a 4-up invul. He's got an ability called the Third Eye. When he attempts to smite, you select an enemy unit within 12 inches, of course, visible, etc. It says he cannot attempt to manifest this. Well, it says if there are none, he cannot attempt to manifest the smite phase or smite this phase.
Oh, so does he get to pick a unit within 12? Because smite is closest target.
Yeah, I mean, as it reads exactly is he attempts to manifest the smite psychic power. Yep. Select an enemy unit within 12 inches of and visible to him before making the psychic test. If there are none, he cannot attempt.
That makes sense. Smite. Smite is 18 to closest unit or whatever, and that's saying if there's nobody within 12, he can't cast the power. So he can't go 18. He can't just hit somebody within 18. There has to be somebody within 12, and he can choose who it hits. Is that what I'm getting?
Yeah, I mean, because the last sentence says if the power is successfully manifested, the unit you chose suffers the mortal wounds, even if another unit is actually closer.
There you go. That's not terrible.
Yeah, I mean, really what that is, that looks to me like that's just a better clarification of what Smite was, I think, intended to be in the first place.
Could be. Although you're not going to want to get that guy up in the mix too much, but as things are encroaching on you, being able to hit that Demon Prince that's screened behind a unit of Zangors or something is probably better.
Right.
I would imagine. Yeah, so those Malefic Lord... I know they're not Malefic Lords. What are they, Renegade Psychers? But those are the main...
Renegade Psychers.
Awesome Malefic Lord models.
Yeah, the Rogue Psyker. They're also Servants of the Abyss, which, like you said earlier, we'll get into later. They have unrestrained power. You can reroll any dice rolls of 1 when taking a psychic test for this model. However, this model suffers perils of the warp on any psychic test that is a double, not just a double 1 or double 6.
How many wounds do they have?
They have 4.
Oh, so they can live past the first one.
But they don't have any kind of invulnerable. They're just a 5-up save, so they're T3 wound.
Do they have any
T3
kind of rule that helps them go Super Saiyan or something the first time they channel the warp, the first time they perils or something?
No, they just have the slave to Malik. You know, if your army is battle forged, this unit does not take up a detachment that includes Obsidious Maliks.
Cool.
So they're pretty basic. I mean, they're definitely the model that like you said, they're probably going to take up immediate slots as the other models.
Something else, yeah. I mean, we're talking about if people played Renegades and they have a Renegade Guard army, these models are going in immediately, as well as some of the other models from this set.
Oh yeah, Renegade Guard, as they call them, Traitor Guardsmen. I mean, these are some of the most unique looking guardsmen that have been out in a long time.
How many come in the set?
It comes with the full allotment, which Traitor Guardsmen are only 7 to a unit, and they only get 2 units. So you have 14 guys, and then you get the Chaos Beastmen as well, which there's 4 in the unit for them.
And these are easy fit models.
Yeah, they're all push fit.
Yeah. I know people are going to want to glue them together. Be careful with the push fit models if you're using plastic glue, because the plastic glue, before it cures all the way, sometimes it resists being pushed together snugly to get you that tight seam to where you don't have any creases between some of the pieces. So be real careful when you're gluing them together. Sorry, another hobby tip that I have screwed up many times in the past. I just try to pass them along whenever I can.
That is a solid pro tip.
And that's like, look, if you could see the original push fits of how I screwed those up, and like, oh man, what happened? This is how you avoid that. Don't use as much glue as you would on the push fits. You just need to have it stick it together for eternity. You're not trying to fill the well, and because you'll get those gaps. And for things like if you're building your Soul War set or whatever, and you want your wispy stuff to look all sleek and smooth and like it's ethereal, you don't want gaps on those things. So anyway, heed or don't, but you will be disappointed if you don't take that advice. So what else is jumping out at you about this game?
Well, the game, I mean, obviously we haven't had a chance to really dive into the game itself, but I think a lot of the things to me are, things like what I said earlier, the robot keywords, just hoping that the future is going to show us some new armies. This world's obviously got a lot of depth to it, even if you go all the way back to the beginnings. And, there's so much potential if they just go the old school route and bring all this old awesome stuff in. For you, there is a Ranger in here.
Oh man, I'm really excited about that model.
The She Ranger?
It's an Eldari Bealtan.
Yes.
Asirani Ranger.
Tell me the
straight up
stats.
Ranger. 7-inch move, 2+ ballistic skill. Obviously, you get the weedy toughness 3 as always. It is a 3-wound model though. It has 2 attacks. It's got the Ranger long rifle. It has a power blade as well. Which
what
is also
slot
nice.
is it in? Is it elite?
It's an elite. Yeah.
Okay.
It has phase crystal, so it's a 4-up invul, and can move across models and terrain as if it were not there.
Okay. Interesting.
It has Ancient Doom. You can reroll failed hit rolls in the fight phase
Slanesh.
in a turn in which she charges or is charged by a Slanesh unit.
Yeah.
However, you must add 1 to the morale test for her if she is within 3 inches of any Slanesh units.
That's all Eldar have that, or all Eldar.
Yeah. Battle focus. She moves or advances in her movement phase. Weapons, excluding heavy weapons, are used as if she had remained stationary.
Mm-hmm.
She's got the chameleon line cloak, and then she basically has the same kind of deployment as all other stealth type units.
Yeah, she beams in is what she can do, or come out of the shadows.
It's just called appear unbidden or unhidden or something unbidden. So it's a pretty cool model. I mean, you have
a great model.
Power blade. I mean, you have a power blade with a long rifle. I mean, it's she can fight and pew pew. It's kind of nice.
I hope I can do that model justice. The model looks so good.
There should be some kind of achievement or award for doing both in the same game.
Paul, you just need to send that over to Kelly and let her do that one.
Oh, that's too much. Or just needs some real talent on that one. But the example in this, they're not even messing around with this. Like some of the, we've talked about this before. Like some of the box art on some of the miniatures, they're attainable. They're not scaring you. This stuff is intimidating.
Yeah, they're all really high quality looking miniatures and paint jobs.
Yeah, the fact that they're push fit is pretty crazy for that level of quality. But again, they just keep impressing us as far as that goes, and I don't mind saying that. Where I was going a couple of minutes ago, though, was we talked about, or you were mentioning, like, wouldn't it be cool if we got new armies? Well, I think it might actually be more realistic that we might see kill teams around this stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that's. I mean, that's
for sure.
That's the easiest way in it, you know.
Like, oh, you want to have a Rogue Trader kill team? Well, here you go. Or you want to have a Blackstone Fortress robot kill team, the Spindly drone kill team. I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying I think that'd be a really easy way to get these models cross-platform without a huge amount of development.
That robot's the Fallout refrigerator. He's awesome. He just looks like he looks straight out of a Fallout video game.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
No, it definitely looks cool. Is there a way, like in the Rogue Trader for the kill team, you could take like all these units in one detachment, and that would be it? Is there a way to do that? Like they take all of them, even though they have desperate faction things, put them all in one detachment altogether.
You talking about the stuff that's in this box?
Yeah, for either one of them. I mean, not both the good guys and the bad guys, but can like all the bad guys form one detachment? Can all the good guys form one detachment?
Well, I mean, they're all, they all have the base Imperium keyword, which, according to the new way, right? You can't really count that. Is that right?
Yeah, that doesn't get very far.
So yeah, you're kind of stuck where some of these, for example, like the Navigator and the Rogue Trader himself, they don't have anything that's discernibly the same for those keywords because it's not, I guess, not by design. But the Priest and the Zealot, they both have Adeptus Ministorum though.
Yeah, got it. Cool.
By the way, that Priest, it also has war hymns, so your Ministorum infantry and Astra Militarum infantry get that extra attack. So it's just one more priest to add to the Kadashan.
Does he have anything else? Another ability? Any other abilities that separate him from being just a regular old priest?
No, he's just got Zealot. The same thing. He's just basically a cool looking model. I mean, he's got a Powerball, a servo stubber. I mean, it's just some gear. He's got some gear.
Got some stuff he's picked up. Man, God, they're just so good. The game was cool. I don't know how they did those bases. I hope they put out... the game... Is there any sculpted material on the bases themselves? Like, are they just black bases? All right.
They're black bases. They're like the Blood Bowl ones. They have the little holes in the front, so you can put the little skulls and whatnot on the front.
Okay. Yeah, but you're going to have to put all that Blackstone Fortress marble on yourself, is where I'm going with that.
Yes.
Well, good luck.
You're going to have to acquire some skills.
Well, I'll just comb the internet for tutorials. Man, I was watching. There's all these personal assistant devices that are being advertised right now, where you just ask it to show you a tutorial on something. How do I do this? And it pulls up a tutorial for you. I don't think that would work for painting. It's on the quest to find tutorials. You'd have to be like, no, not that one. Try again. No, not that one. I'm not that good. I need a lower tech tutorial, please.
And I also need you to come to my house and paint these miniatures.
Yeah, can you phone a friend, call somebody that can paint these miniatures? But no, those bases, I'm just looking at the pictures right now, of course. So looking at the bases themselves, I know they come with, or they appear to be painted, the bases to be painted like a real smooth reflective surface of a Blackstone.
Oh, yeah. I'm looking at the bases in the box. I mean, some of them have holes and then some of them don't. So, the more like the normal sized bases, like your 25 millimeter, et cetera, they don't have the little holes punched in them. So it's pretty clear that it's just your main characters are going to get those little hex type inserts on the top.
Well, next week I'll be traveling for work. I'm going to try to still get content out to everyone, but we'll see how that goes. I'll be in a strange land, in a much different time zone than I am now. So we'll see what I can put together. But so if you don't hear from us next week, that's why. We'll be back ASAP the week after that, or I'll try to get it later in the week or something. The show next week will not come out at its normal time. Unless it does. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be vague. It's just I just don't know what to expect. But thanks for everyone that's tuned in, listened to us ramble. Please, give us a sub if you haven't already, thumbs up and stuff, and then a 5-star review in iTunes or anywhere that you happen to listen to the show. We'd really appreciate it. Guys, is there anything y'all like to cover before we wrap this up right now?
No, man. If anybody has some great tips for assembling the new Thunderhawk kit, I would definitely be interested in seeing what they got to say. For no particular reason.
Good luck with that, man. I can't wait to see pictures as you're going along the way. Well, y'all have a good rest of y'all's night. We'll talk soon.
Yep.
Cheers.
Have a good night.
I am Groot.